We will have each of our panelists introduce themselves shortly. Among them, we have the owner of Penny Lane Schools, the multi-site executive director for Children of America Educational Childcare, the executive director of the Children's Learning Center at Moraine Valley, and a formerly teacher at the Children's Learning Center at Moraine Valley, who had actually just recently started as a paraprofessional in a second grade classroom. So before the panelists begin to discuss their professional journeys with us, Laura and I would briefly like to discuss the ESAY scholarship with you. And then the four panelists will each speak, and then we will give them time to kind of go through their experience, and then there will be time for questions at the very end of the presentation.
So, I need this. I forgot. This is one of the reasons why we're here is the scholarship. The ESAY scholarship, it covers your total cost of attendance after financial aid has been paid. Some benefits that we have given our students who are currently on the scholarship is gas cards. We've paid for childcare, food cards. We also help them with employment because in order to be a participant with the scholarship, you have to currently work in a childcare facility or previously work in a childcare facility. And this scholarship pays up to a master's degree. Of course, Moraine only has an associate's degree, but it does pay up to a master's degree.
All right, so we can answer any questions on the scholarship. There's a flyer in the back of the room as well for anyone that has any more information on it. Our contact information is on the flyer as well that you pick up. So we will go ahead and let our panelists go ahead and get started. So first up is Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine Stefano. Hopefully I'm speaking well into this little thing. So I've owned Penny Lane Schools for 35 years. I actually went to Moraine, so it was kind of a shock to see it. Because when I was here, they had temporary buildings. This shows you how old I am. I did eventually graduate from DePaul University with BS in education, and I taught, and then I also got my certification in special ed. So I taught at the Southwest Co-op in Oak Forest, and so I taught about 10 years. And and then after my last daughter was born in 1988, I decided that I wanted to take her to work with me. So it just kind of had an opportunity to buy a child care center that was already operating that had 24 children, and I bought it for $16,000. So at first, I tried to teach and have the child care center. That didn't go over well, and 2 little kids, so I quit teaching, and I went full-time into working at Penny Lane, and I found that I loved early childhood education. I loved it. And because of my background as a teacher, and also because I was a special ed teacher, I really was able to go into childcare and really individualize it. Because at the time, childcare was not what it is today, nowhere near. What it is now is fabulous. But in the beginning, I had no idea how to do this. So I just kind of relied on my background of special ed and individualized the hell out of everybody. And so my schools just flourished. They did really well. And in that building in the public schools in Oak Lawn, I went from the 1 classroom, because it was an empty school, to about 9. And so then I decided that I had an opportunity to have my own building. So I bought a building on Southwest Highway, and it was an old golf ball making building. Golf balls fell out of the ceilings. And there were old golf clothes from the 40s. It was quite an amazing thing. So at the time, my husband, who has since passed away, he did the work. We gutted the building and created a Penny Lane for 200 children. And then we moved the kids from the other school and put them in this school. So we kind of had like money to pay the mortgage, which worked out really well. So we filled that school. And then a year later, we built another school. We bought another building on Ridgeland, 103rd and Ridgeland, and we gutted and renovated that one. And so that one has 300 children. My schools are now, at this point, NACE accredited. We have those Excel 5 stars, and we've been voted best of the Southland for 17 years. And I just have to say that when I first started it, I didn't know how this was going to happen. How was I going to do this? And I think because I loved it so much and I was enthusiastic about education, that it just kind of just developed. I don't know how, but it did. Well, a lot of work. I do know how. But one of my greatest honors that I have to say, and that's why I love this idea of this panel, is that many of the women who have come to work for me came without any education. High school diploma, maybe a few courses. And in the beginning, I wasn't NACE accredited, so I could do CDAs and different kinds of things. And so what happened is they came to work for me, they brought their children, and they went to school. And some of these people, many of them, still work for me after 20, 25 years. They now are the directors of my schools, they're lead teachers, they're fabulous human beings. And because of those women, I would say we kind of worked as a team to build Penny Lane. I didn't do it on my own at all. I think that had a lot to do with it. So many of them, their children now work for me, have used the scholarship program, they have gotten their degrees, and now these individuals' grandchildren come to my schools. So it's really been, it's a happy place for me to go to. And they've allowed me to retire, kind of. I'm on the phone. I live in Florida. I was telling the girls that there's a rule that when you get to a certain age, you get to go to Florida. You can stay there, but if you still have child care centers, they call you. They do. They call you. And the other thing I wanted to say, because this is about the business of child care, and I was thinking about over the 35 years, what skills do you have that I've developed over 35 years? And I would say one of the biggest ones is that you have to be a risk taker. You have to be able to just say, you know what, this turns me on, lights me up, I'm just gonna do it. And you know what, it's hard. It's hard. I've never been a skier, but I think it might be similar to going on the top of a mountain. Sounds like it. The other thing is that I think that helped me have such wonderful places is that I love education. I love teaching. I find it to be so creative, and I have always loved it. And I love my schools. The other thing is, I think to be successful, you've got to be surrounded by wonderful people and staff, but you have to love them back. I'm not the type of leader or director or whatever, owner, that is difficult to get along with. I have learned how to navigate and develop my people skills. I didn't always have that. When I first started, I was such a micromanager. It was disgusting. But through the years and through training, I have learned to stop that, and I'm a delegator. That's why I can live in Florida and have big schools that are totally run by my staff, because I recognize how wonderful they are, and I tell them all the time, and they know it. So I would have to say that's about it for me, and I could go on forever, about 35 years of doing this, but if anybody has questions, I'm always open to it, and I love to contribute to anyone who wants to do childcare. So that's it. Thanks.
Hi, I am Yvette Vanna. I am an executive director for Children of America. By that title, though, is for multi-sites. I've been working in childcare for 25 years. I started looking for a job that I could earn an income and still care for my children at the same time. I have 3 children, and I started off as an assistant teacher at a large chain, not the one that I'm working for now, but a fairly large chain, and started as an assistant teacher in the infant room for 6 weeks to 15 months. I absolutely fell in love with it. I don't know how to describe it. I enjoyed every day. It wasn't like a job. It was just living my dream every day. And I also was able to spend time with my children. And so I decided to go to school. And I started with a GED in high school. So I wasn't able to finish high school. So I did achieve my GED. And then I started at the local community college and got the lowest amount of classes I could take to become teacher qualified. So I became teacher qualified and really just improved my performance in my classroom. I really learned a lot about child development, and I saw as I implemented all of these different strategies that I learned how these children grew. And I also learned that I could be so much help to the families as a whole. So I just kept learning as much as I could and became what they call an assistant in management, which is a third in charge, and helped a little bit of the administration in the building, and then began to teach pre-K, which was a whole different beast from the infant room. But I did learn a lot in that experience, and I also did before and after school care at the school sites. Back then, we used to go to the school in the morning, take care of the children, feed them breakfast. They would go to school. I would go back, run my infant room, and then after school was over, go and take care of them until their parents picked up for the evening. So I did that, became an assistant in management, and then realized that I needed to continue my education if I wanted to become more in an administrative role. So I took on online classes through an online school, and I achieved my bachelor's in organizational management with a minor in psychology, which I was able to definitely use with that management degree. And all of that I had learned with all of my child development classes. I became an assistant director, assisted a director, and opened up a new school with that chain of child care centers. And was an assistant director for 8 years. In that role, I just wore many hats. I cooked, I drove the bus, I stepped into all different age groups of classrooms, I assisted families. And still, the day-to-day, I was still living the dream because all I had to do was walk into a classroom and was showered with love by all of those children, and I was still able to help multitudes of families. Achieved my degree, assistant director for 8 years, and another company reached out to me with an opportunity to become a director of a brand new site opening up, and that's where I began my career with Children of America. It was my time to be able to shine and show everybody what I could do on my own. I learned from my predecessor's mistakes on what I didn't want to do with my staff, and also through my own mistakes of what not to do with my staff. And I built a building with a lot of really great staff that I feel that I boosted up in confidence and mentored and coached them and hopefully fulfilled them with the same love in ECE that I had. It was a very positive building. We opened up in 2012. As the time I was a director there until 2018. In that time period, we did get up to 190 enrollment with a capacity of 160 because we had a lot of part-time at the time. So we were completely full. At that time, I also became a compliance specialist because I do love licensing. There's a lot involved with childcare and licensing in the state of Illinois. So I was able to go to my sister schools and help them make sure that we were licensing compliant. I also became a management trainer. So as Children of America, as new managers come in, we have them go to mentor schools where they can learn the day in, day out operations of the center. So that way they can go into their schools on the right foot and hopefully knowing a little bit better. So I did that for a few years, and then I became an associate executive director. So my regional manager, executive director at the time, had 12 schools that she operated. So I helped her with the schools in Illinois. She had Illinois and Wisconsin. After a period of time, I took over as regional manager, executive director for 6 of the schools in Illinois. And then just recently, we kind of shifted a little bit. We have 12 schools in Illinois. So I have 4 schools in Illinois now, and I have 4 schools in Wisconsin that I oversee. And my director, one of my directors from my campuses in Illinois, is now the executive director for the other schools in Illinois. So I still, I have a huge drive to succeed. I have a huge drive for new challenges. It's exciting to me. It's not that I get bored with what I'm doing to where I feel like I need to keep moving in different directions or anything. It's just that, I don't know, it's just that drive that gets you excited every day. But what keeps me in childcare, and it's been 25 years, is just that I can walk into a classroom and no matter what, it's, hi, Miss Yvette. Can I have a hug? Can I tell you about what happened last night? A parent's asking me, Yvette, what can I do to help them with this? To be able to be that, have that kind of impact in families' lives. And then also now on another level is, having all of my directors and my assistant directors, my teammates, being able to be there for them and to keep childcare and early childhood education a passion in other people's lives.
Hi everyone, I'm Kirsten Raniclev. I'm the executive director here on campus for the Children's Learning Center. And so I'm excited to be here today and to share a little bit about my journey with you guys. My journey started when I was a child. I feel as most of our, those of us who are in the field, I feel most of our journeys start when we're young. I'm the oldest of 4 children and our parents had us in 5.5 years. So as you can imagine, it was pretty busy at my house, and me being the oldest, I quickly assumed like kind of the second mom, role. So I got to try out a lot of teaching experience with my, own siblings and neighborhood children. So that was kind of what guided me to start my path in early childhood. And so as a young kid, I kind of dreamt of opening my own center someday. I thought that it would be really neat to have my own school. And so I started out with just, moms helping, babysitting, anything I could do to work with kids were my, first roles. And then in my high school, I come from Naperville, and so I went to Neuqua Valley, and we have a preschool in our high school called We Wildcats Preschool. So I had the opportunity to take a course and be a teacher there. And so as a high school student, I was already, kind of in the field, and I was hooked. I was, eager to pursue that. So I continued my journey on to Mizzou, is where I went to school. While I was at Mizzou, I actually switched from early childhood to elementary, thinking that I would change paths and go the elementary route. After my student teaching experiences and then landing a job in an early childhood classroom, I quickly realized, like, no, I really do have a heart for the littles. I really enjoy being a part of that, like, foundation for their learning. I think you can just be so creative in the early childhood classroom, and so I enjoy like what we can do to take the learning like outside of the 4 walls and how we can bring people in from outside to really enhance their learning. And so while I was in Missouri, I stayed at my school for 10 years. So I started as just an assistant teacher, part-time college student. And so just kind of worked my way up from there, as you can see. So that led to a full-time lead teaching position. In that role, I had the opportunity to work with student teachers that were placed from Mizzou. And so at a young age, I quickly got to help with like developing, young teachers who were pursuing their early childhood degrees. So with, supporting their growth, with supporting my co-teachers' growth, my afternoon assistance teachers' growth, I quickly realized that I would want to like take steps to transition into administration to really grow kind of what I was doing in the classroom outside of the classroom and spread it to really my whole school. I saw how important it is to have, teachers who are passionate for what they are doing in the classroom, because they're really, who makes the difference. It's not us administrators who are outside of the room, it's the teachers. It's the trickle effect that comes, from them. And so I really wanted to work closely with them and empower them to do what I had done in my own classroom space. So after some time in Missouri, I kind of realized, like, I don't know if this is my forever home. I enjoyed it for college. I've enjoyed it past college. My family's back in the Chicago area. I didn't think I'd stay, but this school really like has hooked me, kept me. Do I really see myself here, forever? And so ultimately, I made the decision to leave, not because I didn't enjoy what I was doing, but because I knew it was, kind of time to move back closer to family. And so that ended up being a great decision. I didn't know what it would lead to, but it led to this opportunity here. And as I shared, my goal was to open a school as a child, and here I've had the opportunity to help with reopening the Children's Learning Center. So it's cool to think back to childhood me and the vision that I had, and then now standing here today and being a part of executing that dream has just been really, really exciting. So now in my role, we just newly reopened in May. We got on campus in February to start preparing the space. So really each day, each week is different because we're a startup, So first it started with just preparing the space so that we could bring on staff and students. Then it was, hiring our core team so that then we have people to teach the students that we're going to bring on. Then it's bringing on the students, and now it's, wow, we're, rapidly growing. We need more teachers, So it's kind of constantly, shuffling from, are we, hiring, enrolling, partnerships on campus that we're, creating and growing. And so really each day is, a new exciting challenge, and I'm really enjoying learning as I go. But true to, what younger me realized is our teachers truly, matter the most, right? Without them, we don't have, a program. We don't have people to teach the kids, and that trickle effect is so important. And so helping, with developing teachers is really a passion of mine, and specifically supporting them in like the social emotional learning that's happening in the classroom, because, they'll all learn their ABCs and their 1, 2, 3s. But I think if we, cater our teaching to the whole child, then we're really setting them up for success to become, an adult like us someday. So, yeah.
Hello, my name is Ariana Boyas. I've been in the early childhood education for 8 years now. I got my associate's degree here from Moraine. I did a hybrid class that was like fairly new. Quickly after graduating, I did I was an assistant for 3 to 5 year olds for about 8 months to a year. And then I went into infant and toddler. So I was there for 6.5 years at the daycare center. During that time, I kind of did lesson plans, newsletters, calendars, things like that. And then I quickly became a coordinator. So then I oversaw 2 infant classrooms as well as a 2-year-old classroom. And I worked with the classrooms to implement their lesson plans and kind of help the teachers as well. And then I did help the administration part as well, doing family nights, just setting up like the whole school environment. And then I switched and I came to the Children's Learning Center, and I was a 2-year-old lead classroom teacher. I was only there for a couple of months, and then changed into being a paraprofessional now. And that being said was because I kind of moved and with my son. So I kind of wanted to be closer to my son and everything, and so that's why I moved. And I'm in between 3 classrooms. So I'm in a 5th grade classroom and 2 2nd grade classrooms as well. And I'm working with one child that has an IEP, and then I go into the other classrooms and kind of just do small group work with the 2nd grade classroom. And yeah.
Thank you all. Oh, you can't hear me. Thank you all for that. I appreciate it. Now is the time for questions. If anybody in the audience have questions, if not, then I have questions. No one has questions? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
So we're at 68. Now we do have a variety of part-time and full-time schedules, and our capacity is 71. The most we've had attend on a day is 42. So we're getting closer and closer to that 71. Yeah.
We didn't coordinate trick-or-treating, but if anyone wants to last minute partner with us, we would come visit your department. Okay. I'll pull off some field trip permission for that if departments want to partner. We are hosting a boo blast though in the afternoon, so we'll be having our families come out to do activities with the kids.
How do you de-stress after spending all day with the little ones?
Listening to loud music in the car. And kind of just like letting go of everything during the car ride home, and then getting home and kind of like starting new. So try not to take whatever happened in the school or at center, and then just kind of going home and clean slate, basically. Yeah, I try.
For Christine, and then some of also Yvette, I liked how, Christine, you spoke about how you were such a micromanager early on in your career. You hear me online?
The online people.
Oh, I'm sorry, Troy. I'm not used to not being able to be heard. So I liked how you spoke about being a, what did I say?
Micromanager.
And how you had to learn to let go and delegate. That is something that is difficult for a lot of people who are type A personalities. And I just want to know, like, at what point did you have like a moment where you looked at yourself and you're like, I can't do this way anymore? Or was there something in you that just made you change? Or
What happened to me is I really got mentally ill. Not seriously, like go in the hospital, but I decided that I was very unhappy. And I really didn't even know it was my micromanaging, that I was so awful. So I went and had therapy. And so I would say my therapist started pointing out to me what I was doing. And then I also went in downtown Chicago. They had this place called Landmark Education. I took classes there for years. And I just kind of unglued myself from that, because I would not, if I were still micromanaging, my schools would not be what they are. They really wouldn't be, because I thought I knew everything. I thought I was right about everything. And it's a disgusting place to be. So when I finally realized that I'm not right, I actually let other people be. And you know what? Other people are wonderful, and they know exactly what to do, and they will tell you if you allow them and if you step back. And it's exhausting for someone who's right about everything, like me. It's really exhausting. So that's what, it was a journey for me. It was definitely a journey, because I didn't come into this world being that way. You know, so that was my way. This lady probably has already been a great manager, unlike how I was, because she has so many schools.
I do think that, you know, myself, I have felt micromanaged in the past, you know, and told that I need to do something a certain way and how to do it. I hope that with my managers, there is a lot to do during the day. So much to do that, you know, they are very overwhelmed, you know. So what I try to do is I try to ask them questions to see if we can come to the same idea of what needs to be done. But ultimately, it is their schools that they are running, and it's their decision, and I will back them up.
Yeah.
thank you for being comfortable talking about that. I just thought about it when you brought it up, and I manage 4 or 5 different departments here at the college, and I don't think I'm a micromanager, but you know, I'll let my staff talk about that. And we're all going to need therapy, so there you go.
I highly recommend therapy for micromanagers.
So speaking of therapy, I would like to ask if while you were considering getting into the field, if there was maybe a counselor or a mentor or anyone that might have said something to encourage you or helped you make the decision to go into the field. So, I meet with a lot of students who sometimes agonize over the decision-making process of, how to pursue their careers. And so trying to help students, with that part, and if there's something maybe you heard along the way that helped you.
For me, like I shared at Mizzou, I decided to do elementary education, but then ultimately I have a heart for early childhood. That was because I had adults along the way like tell me to go that route, tell me that elementary education makes more sense. You can always tack on that early childhood endorsement. I wish that the younger version of me had listened to like my heart and really had listened to my gut, and I wish that an adult had empowered me to make that decision for myself rather than giving advice based on what they think would land me a better job maybe.
I think that the parents that I've worked with along the way, their encouragement, and then, them telling me that you're really good at this, Yvette, you've helped me with this, that is really what has encouraged me early on to stay in the field and to increase my education.
I would say for me, making that decision was I kind of just fell into it because I had a new baby and she had asthma and I didn't want to leave her. And then my friend just called me up, and she had young children and had a couple daycare centers. She still has some, and offered me this little daycare with the 24 kids. And I thought, wow, this is a great solution for me. I had no idea that I was going to love it as much as I did. I was very happy being a teacher, an elementary school teacher and a special ed teacher. So I just kind of fell into it. And it was just one of those things that just happens in your life sometimes. And it just turned out to be, it's my life's work, really. And I love it. I always have. So that's kind of what happened to me. I didn't have any advice, or I actually had someone tell me not to do it, that I was silly to do this. I'm glad I didn't listen to them.
For me, it was like the experience of my younger brother. I was 9 when he was born. And so I was always excited to take care of him and like change his diapers. And I was like basically a free babysitter for my mom. And so that love kind of grew. And then I did other babysitting and stuff like that. And that just grew into me wanting to do it because I had so much fun doing it when I was younger.
So we have some questions as well. Feel free if anybody thinks of some more questions while we go along, jump right in and ask, and we can pass around the microphone. But I actually had one question for Ariana. I felt that this question was important, and not that anybody else cannot answer it as well. But Ariana, in your description that you had sent to us, we asked everyone to like a brief description of their past and just answer some questions. One of the things that you had mentioned was that there's this kind of like stereotype on teachers that we're kind of just watching kids, or we're a glorified babysitter.
Yeah.
And Laura and I, both being in the education field ourselves as well, we hear that all of the time. And so we were just curious, again, it's directed to everyone, but we like that you had mentioned that in one of your answers. If you could say anything to like shift the minds of individuals that think that and that feel that way, what would it be, if anything?
Honestly, I would tell them to come work with me and see what it is, just for a day, because there's so much more that goes into it, especially with like the infants and toddlers. They don't really have words, and so you're kind of, I had at one point, I think it was 16, and so you're kind of like having to see what their cry means, and they all have different cries, so then you're trying to figure out what all 16 kids need, and so it's not as easy as it like seems. We make it look easy, but it's not. So I would just tell them to come work with me for a day and then, see how they like it.
That's a good answer. I like that answer. If anybody else had anything, don't feel pressured that you have to answer, but I was just curious if anybody has come across that. Yes, we have different individual questions.
I want to make one comment about what you had said and the way that people feel about early childhood or daycare. We've had some parents say to us, well, now that my child is 4, I'm going to take them to real school.
Yes.
And so we have to explain to them that we are not only NACE accredited, our teachers have degrees, we have a very huge curriculum, um, very detailed, and we have to teach them that we're not babysitters, we're educating your children. We're not only caring for them, but we're helping them to become wonderful people of our society. And so I too, that makes me, I hate when people say that. So I totally get that. Like, come follow in our shoes for a day, you know? So that's all.
Oh, okay. I have a question for Yvette. Turnover. Let's talk about turnover. That is something that's very common, and there was a state staffing survey that revealed 32% of teachers in Illinois licensed facility leave their jobs every 2 years. So let's take pay out of it. What do you think is the real reason for the rise and turnover in childcare, and what can be done to diminish that?
I think that from what I have learned from teachers, speaking to teachers, one of the biggest struggles that they have in the classroom day in, day out is in challenging behaviors in the children. Since COVID, we have seen a rise in developmental delays in young children and a rise in special needs. And coming into a group childcare setting with larger group size, so ratios depends on age, but let's just take a preschool child, for instance, ages 3 to 4. A teacher can have 1 to 10 children by herself and up to a room of 20 with 2 people in the room. So if we have, let's just say, 4 to 5 children that have some type of developmental delay or special needs or challenging behavior, then that would then pull that teacher in those directions where they would concentrate specifically on that and unable to implement the curriculum that they've prepared to be able to work with the rest of the children. I believe we need to have more of a government support in our childcare system. In that way, we'd be able to, like in the school districts, they have paraprofessionals. They have special needs classrooms. And if we could implement that in childcare, then we could still have full inclusion to where all the children are included in that. And parents still have the resource for their children, regardless of developmental delay or special needs, have a place that their children can be safe and can learn in a group setting. And so I think that we really need more government assistance in that way. And because we cannot, as childcare, implement that. We need to bring more staff in. If we were to do that, if we were to have these professionals come into our classroom, the only way we'd be able to work with those costs is to pass them on to the families.
Mm-hmm.
The families are at the breaking point with tuition. It cannot go any higher. So we have to find some outside resources in order to help us.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for your
Thank you.
answer. And again, any question we ask anybody, feel free if anybody else has anything to add to it. So, question for Kirsten, actually. In your opinion, what is the biggest challenge in early childhood right now that you would say? I know it's gonna, you have to think about it for a second, that's okay. And whatever that challenge is, do you feel that that's a newer challenge, and how might we overcome it, in your opinion?
So I feel like this kind of almost, like echoing you, it's really, I don't know, we don't have as many passionate teachers coming into the field, I feel, the way that we did even just, a few years ago when I was entering the field. I feel that there's a few reasons for that. I mean, it's not the highest paying field. Money aside, it's also a lot of work, right? You have to put in a lot of hard work to then experience the reward. And so, I don't know. I would say, really finding, quality, passionate teachers is a challenge, and then retaining them too, keeping them. And so my kind of thing for what would I like to change was workplace burnout. So how can we, reignite that passion? What can we do to, like hook and engage teachers? And I'm kind of fumbling around with that right now. So if anyone has advice, share it with me. But I do think it's really, appreciating who you have and seeing the best in them, and you get more of what you focus on. The power of attention is huge. So I think if your, attention on your staff is what they bring to the table and is their, positive qualities, then you'll empower them to continue to, rise and level up. But without, the supports for, like the challenging students, in the classroom, there's, other things that you can have, the most passionate teacher, but there can still be, things that, I don't know, hinder them from, fully enjoying their classroom space, because there's just not, necessarily a solution for, I don't know, everything.
I'd like to reply to that also. What we've noticed in my schools is we really have a very hard time getting teachers' aides. So I think these programs that the state is offering in order to educate and help young women and get them into this field, that there's money available, there's programs available that will help them actually have a career. And I think like things like this, I'm disappointed that not more people are here listening to this, because if you work for a child care center, you will be able to go to school, you will have your tuition paid for, you can get all the way up to your master's degree. And it's a field that is so much fun and enjoyable, and that, we do try to give as many benefits as we possibly can. We have health care, we have, fun, kids, 401k,
Spirit
educational
weeks,
help,
holidays.
holidays. We actually just now took the Friday after Thanksgiving and the day after Christmas, even though the state won't pay us. They should pay us because they're closed, but we just gave them that because they want that. So we try as best we can, but like you said, Yvette, yes, is that it's a long day, it's little children, and it's exhausting. Education is that way, so you have to have a passion for it. And I understand that passion because I've been nothing but a teacher my whole life. So we have lots of wonderful people that do, and they love coming to work. So it's just finding those individuals, having them give us a chance, I think, And I think too, politically, I think there's a lot of people that could benefit from working for us. And I mean politically that they're getting money from some other outside source. So they're not coming and starting with lower level positions. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know why, because pre-COVID, we had plenty of people. We always did. So I don't know, I don't understand that. Why they say they're gonna come in, they don't show up for interviews, they're dressed inappropriately, you can't hire them. They're not.
Yeah.
That's
it is
what
a
I've
different
heard
working
when we
world.
were chatting. It's across the board.
Yeah.
It seems to be an issue. Teachers, it's not quite as bad because we're NACE accredited, so we have to have teachers with certificates. So that's better, and we can pay them, but we still can't pay them like the public schools can. So we lose them sometimes to the public schools. It has helped. The state has been awesome with the funding and the money they've given us so that every quarter we can give the teachers bonuses. That's what we've done with the extra money that we've gotten. We give them bonuses. So I'm hoping that that will continue. And it seems that the governor is really, really dedicated to early childhood, which I love. So I don't know. I don't have any answers either. I'm here so that anyone wants to come to Penny Lane and apply.
Or Children's Learning Center.
Children of America.
No, don't listen
We're right
to them.
here on campus.
Don't listen to them. Come to
But I
Penny
do have to-
Lane, Penny Lane, Penny Lane. We have a song.
I do want to say, though, I do believe that childcare itself does have a stigmatism of being a babysitting system. I did go to another college where I talked to some ECE students. When they found out that I worked in childcare, I kind of saw a little bit of their nose going up in the air because they do offer, there is ECE in the school district where they can, they have teaching certificates and they do have classrooms in the school district. So I do think that we do need to continue our efforts to really show people that childcare itself is extremely important and how much of a difference you do make in the lives of people. And I do think that the work that Kara and Laura are doing right now is extremely important. And our childcare centers, if we could maybe build some partnerships with people with positions like you, maybe we can then on our side do some of the work that you do and further that, educate everybody.
Okay, I have a question for Christine. As a business owner, you did mention pay. Like that is a big issue, and you guys all can attest to that for teachers. For example, in the state of Illinois, children under 2, their tuition is about $288 a week, but the teacher may get paid about $500 a week. So when people see this math, they often understand, if you have 4 infants, that's $288 times 4. Why does that teacher only get paid that $500? Could you explain to them, as owning a business, how much it goes into a business other than just pay roles?
In the case of my schools, we have to do the numbers all the time. And we try to give raises as much as we possibly can. But like any business, you have to be able to pay your bills. And because we have to have teachers with degrees, it makes it a lot more expensive. But we also have to stay competitive with the other childcare centers in our area. So it's always a balancing act of how do we give our teachers and our staff as much as we possibly can, but still not raise our tuition to accommodate having a 4-year degree teacher and being able to keep them so they won't go to the public schools. So I would say that in my case, I would say that we are raising our salaries constantly as much as we possibly can. So we go up 5% on our tuition every year, and we pass that on to the staff. But what has been really, as I said before, it's been wonderful to be able to give them these quarterly bonuses. So I believe that we're going to get another grant so that we pass it on to our staff. That's what we do. So that's kind of how we try to make it up to them. I wish we could pay them more, but I would say that we pay our staff fairly well, but I know it should be more, but we're trying.
All right, I have a question for Yvette. So a lot of these questions we have touched on here or there, but they're a little more specific towards the question. So again, and if anybody wants to jump in. So in your role as that you are being responsible for hiring directors and people that lead and manage your early childhood centers, what are 2 of the most important attributes that you look for a person to fill that role?
Number 1, I really do look for somebody that understands that the teachers in the classroom are the most important aspect of the program and the success of the program. And number 2, somebody who has energy and is positive. Those would be the 2 most important.
Those are good answers. I was gonna say if anybody else in a director role.
Yeah, I would say, you know, the energy and the excitement that they bring into the classroom, the kids are going to feed off that. So it's important that there's somebody who's positive. And then also one that I really highlight is safety. One of my interview questions is like, what's the most important thing, you know, that you would do here at Children's Learning Center? And I'm really looking for them to say to like, keep the kids safe. And so I think if you've got, yeah, the passion, energy, and the focus on safety, a lot of the rest of it we can teach and train.
Anybody else have any other questions? No? Okay. Does anybody, any panelists, would you like to say anything? Say anything or any comments? Nothing? Oh,
I
go ahead.
did want to share how neat it's been to like hear your answers. Both of you guys have, you know, years of experience in the industry, and so it's really cool to see how you guys have, you know, grown over the years, and especially how you shared, you know, on unlearning being a micromanager. That's been something that I've really been, you know, working on over the years, and so it's just encouraging to sit next to the two of you and hear what you have to share.
Thank you.
And I have to say, I felt the same way about you too, just remembering exactly how it felt to be where you are. And, you know, just kind of, it does make you think in a different way, being able to remember all of that. So thank you.
Oh, that's so awesome. Okay. Well, thank you again for coming today, and thank you for our audience and your questions. We really appreciate it. That's all I have for today. So thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, I was wondering if I
Yeah, you should.
Well, and if I had